The third Sunday of Ordinary Time. The Gospel, there's a long form and a short form, is a continuation of Matthew's presentation of Jesus in the earliest times. But I must go back, and maybe you are tired of my saying this, but Matthew's Gospel has to rely for, in a sense, proof texts on the first reading. And it's in two parts. The second part, you might remember, it's from the first reading of midnight mass for Christmas. But it's about towns and districts, Zebulun and Naphtali. He makes a statement that once they were in darkness, but now they're going to see the light. So Matthew, again, writing for the Jewish community, makes reference to the prophetic that Jesus fulfills what was predicted, what was hoped for. And Matthew is insisting on that quite a bit. So Jesus travels through those districts mentioned in Isaiah. And Matthew would be the only gospel doing that because he's got to assist his Jewish followers of Jesus that they are traveling the right road. Okay, but the second part of the gospel is very unusual. Jesus walks along the sea, that's referred to in the prophecy, and he sees two fishermen, Peter and Andrew, Simon Peter. And he calls them, come follow me. And they get out of their boat and they follow Jesus. Pretty quick. And then he sees two more, James and Andrew, and James and John, and their father. And they're mending nets and getting ready to go fishing. And they leave both their works and their father to follow Jesus. And then Jesus goes into the synagogue with him, and he's teaching and healing. So he's being Jesus. All right, that's what's going on in the scriptures. What does it mean for us? That's what I'm interested in. What if we say that religion is what we do in relationship to God, what we do, and spirituality is why we do it? The interior spirit. So there's the external and the interior. In a way, there is the practice for the fishermen, for instance. They were doing their religious thing, following the law. Very important that they leave their father because, as we know from Proverbs and other parts of the Hebrew scriptures, respect and fidelity to the father was central as a religious experience. So they leave their practice and their religion, in a way, this little thing of fidelity to the father. The practice changes to relationship or the why, and they are going to learn the why. The kingdom of heaven is near. Its practice can be so religious. We do it. We do these things. We do them because they're expected. They are traditional. We go to Mass and we come back and that's that. We do the God thing. Or we do this religious devotion. I'm not against that, mind you. But the why is the interior. So we move from practice to personal, if you want to put two P's there. What does it mean to be personal? And Jesus is moving from action or responsibility or expectation. He's calling these four men will call people away from just practice as relational to being personal as relational. And what is it to be personal? I had asked a couple of students that this morning. What is it to be personal? And they came up with words like available, honest, not hiding, being themselves is personal. The adventure of uniqueness, one person said, is to be personal. And Jesus is moving from practice in the Jewish tradition to personal, relational, available, adventurous. One young person said, I would be personal to the degree to which I let myself be known, vulnerable. Jesus is asking these four and asking us, now we are at the beginning of Matthew's Gospel, and we're going to be walking with Matthew's Gospel during this whole year, except during Lent, asking us to be personal, to know why are we doing what we're doing? And the invitation is, can you let religious practices be there, but do you know why you're doing them? Is it business or is it interpersonal? And it's spirituality, prayer is asking us to be personal as God is being personal. Because in practice, you can keep God not as personal with us, but kind of the owner, the manager, the official. And you can have an image of God like that. But God is asking in Jesus to be personal. I want to be personal with you, as personal as Jesus is talking to the four whom are called. So we are called not to leave everything, no, but to leave pure practice, to set aside anything that keeps us from being personal with God and personal, relational with God's people. And that's the mission, to go around healing and curing and accompanying. And you will do that more easily if the people to whom he sends us, we go there as personality available. Why? Because God has been personal and vulnerable with us. We receive it in the Eucharist, we distribute it because of the why of our life is a relationship, personal relationship that God has with us in the Eucharist and through us in our lives.